Hey everybody, thank you for joining me tonight. And I'm just going to warn you now, it's been a little bit of chaos here. So I'm a few minutes late and I apologize. We start our trainings at 6 o'clock on Tuesday nights. That's 6 o'clock East Coast time. And we are here just before I was getting on the live. Literally everything on my desk just kind of fell down. Like my computer fell over, which knocked a lamp down, which knocked pencils on the floor. So I apologize for being a few minutes late. But we're here now. We are here now, and tonight we're talking about whether or not we are people pleasers. And if we are, what do we do to help kind of kill that vibe, right? The people pleasing vibe is not one that helps us in our career, actually, or in our personal lives. But it happens to be a really common vibe that we carry. The whole practice of being a people pleaser, it's a little bit ingrained in us since childhood. And it's especially if you're a mother, it's very easy to fall into this. So I'm sorry here, I'm just making sure that my tech is actually working here because I did knock everything over. Okay, so we're back. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Natalie Kahn. I am the CEO of Dirty Girls Consulting, and every Tuesday night we have Tuesday training. And tonight's Tuesday training is on being a people pleaser. So thanks for joining us tonight. So one of the reasons I wanted to talk about this is because this whole angle or aspect of people pleasing that we carry with us actually impacts us both professionally and personally. So in my professional life, being a people pleaser kept me stuck for a long time because what ended up happening was I would step into a new role, and every time I took a new job or stepped into a new role, I was like, this time's gonna be different. This time I'm gonna do things differently, I'm gonna lead differently, I'm gonna do things the way I want. And then invariably, I'd get into the role and I'd start meeting the people, and I would be looking to everyone else to help me understand, how should I be doing this? How did people do this before me? What are the expectations of my boss or the executive team or whoever it was? And suddenly, I was making decisions about my job according to what other people were telling me were the priorities or was the right way to do it or was part of their expectations, instead of actually leading in my role, doing things that I knew needed to get done, that I wanted to achieve, and doing it my way. So when you're in that people-pleasing mode in your role, in your career, you're never actually leading. You are following the guidance of everyone around you. And we think about that this is a really great way for job security. But the truth is, it just stops us from being a leader. So I want to talk about the 3 habits around people pleasing because I also want to mention it's also a habit that we do in our personal lives, actually, the people pleasing piece, right? We don't want to be perceived either personally or professionally as not a team player, as not dependable, not part of the group, not somebody you can go to and rely on who's there to support the business and meet the goals kind of thing, not committed. We do this in our relationships. We don't want to be seen as the mean person. We don't want to be seen as not kind or unsupportive. And so we will give way in our relationships to what other people want over our own desires. Or we'll spend our energy making sure that they're getting what they want. But what we're doing then is we're making sure that we're achieving other people's goals. So the 3 habits that I wanted to talk to you tonight that we need to break in order to break free of being people pleasers are these. Habit number 1. And when we're so busy that we can't focus, it means we are losing sight of and losing our commitment to our own goals. When we're so busy that we're cranking through every day and getting the job done and working on this project and that project and responding to what other people want, we are losing focus of what our own career path is. We're losing focus of whether our objective is that next promotion, that next raise. Maybe it's just stepping up and being a better leader. Maybe, to take it back to the personal side, our focus is something we want to achieve in terms of buying a house or a new car or taking a vacation. When we lose focus on what our goal is, and then we lose our commitment to that goal, then it becomes far easier for us to start making decisions and choices that are about other people's dreams and other people's goals. And that's how we fill our time, and then that's how we stay busy. So it becomes a really vicious circle of I'm too busy to even think about what my goals are, much less focus on them and be committed to them. And yet, if I don't stop and get unbusy and recommit to my goals, how am I ever going to get there? We're not. We're not. So habit number 1 is to cut the busyness so that you focus on your goals and your objectives, and then start making those decisions to help you get there. So a lot of the work that I focus on with clients when I'm working with them one-on-one is exactly this, kind of identifying, okay, where's that line for me? Where's that boundary for me between my being a good coworker, a supportive friend, between, taking it on for the team and supporting the team, being loyal, being dependable, and the other side of that line, where am I sacrificing time that could be spent on my own goals and my own priorities? That should be spent more on me getting to where I want to go in that life that I want to build. This is one habit, this habit of being busy and not focusing on moving our own objectives forward, that keeps us stuck. A lot of times when clients come to me and say, I'm just stuck, I can't seem to get ahead. A lot of the not getting ahead is because we've lost focus, or we don't even know anymore what our goals are, so we can't get there. So habit number 1, cut the busy, and get refocused on what's here for you, on what your goal is. Habit number 2 is we are often in the habit of looking for outside validation for we're doing a good job or we're doing the right thing. This is one we like to deny. We like to deny, no, I don't need outside validation. That's not me at all. That's not it. But it's kind of true that when we are looking at our jobs and we are asking other people what they think, we're asking for guidance for how we should do something, even though we know, even when we have a really good idea of what we think it should be, we're looking for that validation. We're looking for that feedback that says, yeah, you're on the right track. You're doing the right thing. Good job. You keep going. Right? It's a little bit of self-protection for us so that we think if we get in trouble, it won't be all our fault. Other people did it this way. It should have worked. The problem with this comparison mode, one is the seeking of the outside validation. You have to consider how much that validation really matters. You have to consider whether the path they're pitching is actually directing you closer to your goal or closer to their goal. The other piece with this comparison mode that we're in that's really dangerous, actually, is that oftentimes we are comparing ourselves to other people and we get down on ourselves because we feel like I should be further ahead. My peers are getting promoted beyond me, or my boss is just doing so great and I'm never going to catch up. Or personal level, my sister is doing great, or my BFF is doing great and I don't seem to be moving as fast as they are, or my neighbor's got a new car, they must be doing wonderfully. When we get into comparison mode, we are often comparing the wrong things. And that happens on 2 levels. First, you're comparing your, we call back of the house if you work in a restaurant, right? You're comparing your back of the house. You're comparing the messy, dirty, cluttered parts of your kitchen with somebody else's Martha Stewart photo shoot, right? With somebody else's Crate and Barrel catalog living room that they set up just for that photo shoot. So we're often comparing somebody's Insta-perfect, Facebook-ready photo with what's actually real and happening in our own lives inside our own homes. They're not the same. You know yourself. You put a photo on Facebook of a happy family gathering. That's often one photo out of about 50 that you took, right? To get the perfect lighting, to get the perfect angle, to make sure not everybody's, everybody's looking at the camera, somebody's not yelling, the dog isn't dragging their tail through it, whatever it is, right? We're often comparing somebody's, like I said, front of the house, right? What they show the public with what we're mired in our back of the house. It's not a fair comparison. So we're always going to lose when we're in the comparison mode. The other place where comparison is an unfair and a negative quality is the fact that we are not necessarily comparing against the same goals. So maybe your neighbor does have a fancy new car, One, you don't know her back of the house. You don't know what your neighbor's financial situation is. You don't know why the car came about or why she wants it or needs it, and it doesn't matter. Two, are her priorities and her goals the same as yours? Is she building the same life that you're trying to build, right? We get into comparison mode with where we think we should be or what we think we should be doing without having the full context of details. And then we put ourselves in this negative position, which perpetuates negative thought about ourselves. The negative thought about ourselves keeps us stuck. As long as we're not thinking we're really there or we're not really able, we're not going to move forward or take the risk. So comparison mode is a habit that we get into, often without thinking about it, but it's one that's awfully comfortable for us. So the first habit, like I said, was we're so busy, we're unclear on our priorities. The second habit is we look for outside validation, but we're looking in the wrong places, right? We're looking for sources that don't actually directly correlate to what we're trying to achieve for ourselves. Or we think they are, but we're doing it based on front of the house imagery and not the back of the house. The third habit that we have to break, if we're going to inoculate ourselves against this disease to please, this idea that everything we do is helping everybody else, but not us, is this concept that, well, it's probably the hardest one to break because we fall into this so easily. I said comparison was easy and comfortable. This one's even easier. It's judgment. We fall into judgment. We put energy towards looking at other people and stacking ourselves up against them. That is comparison, but then we layer judgment on top of that. So I want you to think about what your go-to judgment is. And we all have one. So if you tell me you're a totally non-judgmental person and this never comes up, you're wrong. I know it does. It does for all of us because it's human nature. But the more that we're aware of what our judgment is and where it comes up, the easier it is for us to then manage that judgment and that expectation so it doesn't become something that holds us back. All right, we're talking about the disease to please. Well, part of the disease to please, right, part of being a people pleaser is knowing where you stand with people. So we have a judgment on that. So just to use my own personal example, I know that for me, the judgment zone I fall into the most quickly is when I go, he's an idiot. He's a moron. My judgment always goes back to some level of intelligence. For some people, it's looks, right? Attractiveness. For other people, it might be common sense. It might be technical skill of some kind, but we all have some judgment that we fall back on. Now, I know why I do. I know I was raised in a household where academics and grades and intelligence were extremely highly valued. And so the most important day of the year was bringing home my report card and having that conversation with my parents, right, about my grades and why they were what they were, or why they weren't what they should be, right? When you're raised with that value, right, it's part of our values. My shadow value, this judgment piece is, oh, they're so dumb. Which gives me that sense of confidence that I'm not that dumb, at least, right? I'm comparing myself to other people, but here's the thing. The logical me, the adult me, the more aware me knows there are plenty of people out there who are smarter than me. There are probably people out there who maybe aren't as smart. But in both those cases, nobody's lack of or increased intelligence actually affects how I'm building my life, where I'm going with my career. Has no impact. So really, what good does that judgment do except create a bunch of negative energy about me criticizing someone else for a trait that I probably actually don't really know how smart they are or aren't, which in turn boomerangs back to me because it highlights my own insecurity about how smart am I. Do you see? We judge other people for what we fear the most. If we're judging people about their intelligence, then we are reflecting on the fact that we ourselves feel not so intelligent sometimes, and we worried about being judged that way. If we are judging other people for their weight, we have a sensitivity towards how much we weigh ourselves, and we are worried about being judged for our weight, or for our looks, or for our physical prowess, or for our common sense, or our ability to fix a car, whatever it is. This judgment that boomerangs back, the energy is negative and we send it out, but it boomerangs right back on us, keeps us very stuck in this need to please. If we are always comparing ourselves to other people and then worried about the judgment of other people because we are harsh judges ourselves, we remain trapped in a cycle where we don't step out into our leadership. We do not step out and perform or make decisions or move ahead in the way that we could and we should in order to succeed as leaders. And I don't mean just leaders in our professional lives. That may be the context we're talking about here, but think about what it does in your personal life. How many relationships have you been stuck in? Because letting go of those relationships might mean somebody judges you some way. Might mean that somebody's not happy with you for the choice you make. We stay trapped because we have this need to fulfill the expectations, the desires, and the goals of other people instead of ourselves. The need to please is a really tough construct for us to break, because as women in particular, and as women who are daughters who are raised to be people pleasers, as mothers who are nurturers to take care of others, there's a lot of our activity in our culture that is ingrained in this people pleasing. But if we can step back from it and instead look at the bigger picture of what we're trying to build from our lives, there are certain people pleasing habits that we can start to break down now. And I promise you, when you dig into them, they're going to center around a lack of focus, right? This busyness, so a lack of focus or a lack of knowledge of what your true goals are, around comparison with people around you and thinking somehow you're not measuring up and that you need to move faster, go faster, be different. And this judgment that we push out onto other people, but that actually boomerangs back onto us and adds to our negativity and adds to our stress. If we can release these habits, if we can make even a small shift towards breaking these 3 habits, we get to feel a lot more freedom in terms of how we are making our choices, the job that we're doing and doing it our way, the relationships that we choose to keep and how we choose to manage ourselves in them. And we step up into leading. We're not just following other people's guidance and other people's ideas. We're actually stepping up into leading things our way. These habits keep us stuck, and they actually keep us unhappy, because as long as we're not making progress towards those goals that we have for ourselves, we're not happy, we're frustrated, we're tired. And with all that negative energy with those 3 habits, we're grumpy, we're cranky. So those are your 3 habits there. If you are working on the people-pleasing aspect of it and struggling with it, then I would like to invite you to drop the word, please, or pleaser, please, in the chat. And let's just have a short 15-minute conversation on how we help you take a step closer to inoculating yourself against people-pleasing habits. How do we help you move closer to living a life where you're stepping up and leading and eliminating some of these habits that are keeping us stuck, keeping us trapped in this mode that is just not serving us? It's not helping us. So I invite you to break the people-pleasing habits. I mentioned the 3 tonight. There are others, I'm sure, if you think about it, maybe that come up when you think about people-pleasing and what keeps you there. But I would love to have you join me in a free a free conversation and a sales-free conversation. That's not what this is about. To talk about the people-pleasing habits that you have and what is one step you can take that gets you just a little bit closer to breaking that habit and stepping into a freer life where you're actually the only person you're pleasing is you. Because that's really where you should be focused. So drop the word please or pleaser in the chat. I'll reach out to you probably over DM, and we'll set up a 15-minute call. Again, it's a free call, but it's also a sales-free zone to just talk through what's keeping you stuck, what's keeping you in the people-pleasing mode, and how do we move you a little bit closer to more freedom for yourself, more personal power and leadership for yourself that will impact both your personal life and your professional life. Thank you for joining me tonight for Training Tuesday. I am very happy to talk to you about being a people pleaser and inoculating yourself against the disease to please. This is one of the most powerful things we can do for ourselves as we step into leadership, both personally and professionally. So if you'd like to learn more, drop the word please or pleaser in the chat. Please, drop please in the chat. And we'll have a short 15-minute conversation about moving you out of pleaser mode. Have a great night, ladies.